been a rough few years in some ways for AEW. When they were formed back in 2019, they were the cool new kids on the block, and WWE was seen as lame and boring for understandable reasons. And that was the way it went for their first 3 or 4 years. That changed though when the Bloodline angle and Triple H's creative ideas took over, and the whole Brawl Out fiasco took place. WWE went on an upward trajectory, whilst AEW attendance and ratings fell due to creative struggles, losing Cody Rhodes and the never-ending CM Punk drama. Now, with their big new shiny Warner Bros. Discovery deal, 2025 has become AEW's most important year. And thus far, the beginning of 2025 has been pretty solid for the land where the Elite wrestle, except for that Death Riders thing. They're doing some things right, such as focusing on smaller arenas and reworking Tony Storm's already popular character, to name it, but a few things. Some things they aren't doing right though, such as the stuck in neutral Death Riders angle, which is unfortunately over the AEW title, and some odd decisions regarding talents being locked in Guantanamo Bay. Then there's Jeff Jarrett. He's been a lower mid-card act in AEW, with a bit of fun but nothing too offensive. However, for some reason, in the past few weeks, he started chasing the AEW World Championship. It led to one of AEW's worst promos and a storyline that nobody cares about. If you're a fan of a certain age, it takes you back to the same mistakes that WCW and TNA made. However, before we begin with our look at Double J, do you want to make sure that fans love every single thing you do, unlike JEFF, JARRET? God, that's a stupidly long catchphrase. However, if you want to be loved by everyone, then all you need to do is click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Done? Now, everyone loved that, and they now love you. Thank you. But, let's go back to the beginning. Way back to the beginning. Earth, 1986. Jeff Jarrett began his wrestling career in 1986, but it was when he joined WWE in the early 90s that he became a big star. Jarrett was with WWE for the most part until 1999, working best as a cocky heel. Double J had the talent and charisma to succeed as an upper mid-carder, but he was never a main eventer or a world champion, and he seemed to have a clearly defined glass ceiling. He did become the Intercontinental Champion, however, and was a respected superstar, but as I mentioned, he also had a ceiling in Vince's promotion. Because of that, you couldn't really blame him for leaving WWE for WCW in 1999, in controversial fashion, holding the IC belt hostage for around about $300,000. I wonder if this will become relevant later on. Let's see. The jump to WCW did work out in the short term for Jarrett, as he did become a main eventer he always wanted to be, and a world champion whilst in WCW, but the problem became a suffocating hole at the top. In 2000, WCW was going through changes, in the same way that if you take a fish out of water, it would start going through some changes. Wrestlers such as Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage weren't that big of a deal anymore and were leaving, with Hogan leaving amidst a huge character defamation lawsuit, and WWE had clearly won the Monday Night Wars. Because of this, a lifelong mid-carder in Jarrett became the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, not once, but 4 times, and unbelievably, he wouldn't even be the worst WCW Champion of the year 2000. That honour is a coin flip between David Arquette and Vince Russo. However, back to Jarrett, with his annoying slapnuts gimmick being the vocal point week after week after week, as he broke a guitar over someone's head, it made WCW look seriously weak when you had the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock leading the way over on Raw, on the other channel. This was likely, his push was due most probably with his friendship with the booker at the time, Vince Russo, who can make a claim to being the worst booker of all time. When WCW folded in 2001, Jarrett got gleefully fired by Vince on the infamous simulcast episode of Raw, although he technically got told he would be spelling his name as Goonie from now on, not Gone, but, you know, cool moment, I suppose. As Vince doesn't forget, back to this moment, Vince didn't forget the hostage holding of this IC championship, and that did come and bite the man with the stupidest nicknames ever right on the ass, and he found himself without a place to call home. So Jarrett got to thinking and decided to build himself a home, where the problem would only get worse, and when Jarrett founded TNA with his father, Jerry Jarrett. This was WCW all over again at times, with Jeff holding the NWA title 6 times. Even in TNA, Jarrett felt like a mid-carder who had just taken over the main event. As one of the founders, in reality he truly had. He would stay with TNA through all the ups and downs until around about 2017, where he would return to WWE and become a backstage producer and an occasional on-screen talent. But he would leave in 2022 to head to the Elite Zone. When Jeff Jarrett joined AEW in 2022, many fans groaned, but the relationship seemed to be working out quite well. Jarrett was in his mid-50s now, but he's still in shape and quite entertaining, so putting him in the mid-card really helps out the rest of the roster. Jarrett had been in the role for over 2 years, but recently things have started to change in a huge and unfortunate way. A few weeks ago, Jarrett decided that he had one last main event run in him. He knew he was an aging outlaw, but he wanted to be the champion one more time. As a guy who hasn't been relevant in the main event in many years, if ever, it didn't really make sense to give the 57-year-old Jeff Jarrett a shot at the top prize, but whatever, it wasn't the worst thing AEW has ever done. Let Jeff play the underdog, show his career some respect with a few bigger matches, even maybe winning the Owen Hart Cup. That may be a really nice moment for Owen's best friend as a big underdog babyface, and then move on. But then AEW put him in with MJF on the January 15 Dynamite. He went one-on-one in a promo battle with MJF. Maxwell did his usual same old routine, making fun of Jarrett's drinking problems and his wife Karen Jarrett. As a mid-card babyface, Jarrett couldn't hang with MJF. In Jarrett's defence, not many people can hang on the mic with MJF, but you can still give it a fair shot, but Jarrett was nowhere near Max's level. He went on the offensive reply of calling MJF's mom a call girl, and then calling his girlfriend a call girl too. This was a cringe-worthy promo that should have never happened. It was 13 minutes of TV that could have been used on anything else but this. If I'm being honest, Max seems a little lost in AEW right now. A year ago he was AEW's biggest star, but then he started to feud with Jarrett, and whilst this Hangman feud has been quite fun, it's been a bit random. Thankfully though, it appears that Jarrett's promo on this Dynamite was so awful that Tony Khan had a change of heart. According to Fightful Select, AEW decided to move away from MJF versus Jarrett and has transitioned instead into the MJF Hangman Page feud we just mentioned, which should be a really good match. Fightful Select wrote, however, about Jarrett that we're told a lot of plans have changed of MJF and the Jeff Jarrett program. On the January 22nd episode of Dynamite, Jeff Jarrett came to the ring and apologised for getting in the gutter with MJF the week before. He'd obviously seen the fan response to his anti-women comments. However, instead of realising that putting Jarrett in the main event scene wasn't the best idea, Tony Khan decided to dig in even further. Forget MJF, Jarrett wanted Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. The fans in the arena couldn't care less, and Jarrett struggled to get through his promo without anybody cheering him. This led to Claudio Castagnoli coming out and beating down Double J. In his promo, Claudio said that Jarrett will only get a title shot if he can beat him first. It makes sense that Jarrett shouldn't get a shot at Moxley just because he wants it, but does anyone really want to see Jarrett versus Castagnoli either? If Tony Khan is seeing the light, he will realise that this match will be the time to pull the plug on the whole angle and have Claudio destroy Jarrett. There is no word where Jarrett should beat him and face Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship, although it feels like Jarrett becoming a world champion again is extremely unlikely. Even putting him in a program for the title is an awful reminder of WCW and TNA's mistakes, which is stuff that AEW really can't afford right now, due to the fact that they've had all these comparisons in the past couple of years. Thankfully, however, they did seem to listen to the fans and decided to have Claudio beat Double J and seem to be moving on with the 57-year-old musician. So, there you have it though. Do you agree with our assessment of Double J? And do you think we missed anything? And should AEW push him into the world title scene? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to click the thumbs up, the subscribe button and the notification bell. However, that's all for now. So all that's left to do is thank you for watching and welcome you to the club. See ya!